Seeing that it's 7 o'clock, I think I'll call this meeting to order. And I'd like to say that our meetings are recorded for public viewing on a publicly available website. And we are meeting on the unceded First Nations land of the Hatsat and Shinnecock territory. Now, may I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Anyone opposed? I say it's carried. Now, I would like to move that we ask CAO Pete Nelson Smith to chair tonight's meeting. Anyone opposed?
Did we get a
Very
second?
good. I thought I heard a second, but
A second.
there it is. Very good. Anyone opposed? I say it's carried. Thank you. CAO Pete Nelson Smith, do your best.
Thank you, Councillor Deck. Moving on to adoption of the minutes. The minutes of the December 10th, 2024 regular council meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review those?
Yes.
If there's no changes, could I get a motion to adopt the minutes as presented?
Motion to adopt the minutes of the December 10th, 2024 regular council meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Minutes of the January 14th, 2025 public hearing. Could I get a motion if there are no changes?
Motion to adopt
So
the minutes of the January 14th, 2025 public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the minutes of the January 14th, 2025 special meeting. Any changes to that one?
No.
Seeing no changes, a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt the minutes of the January 14th, 2025 special meeting.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And carried. Business arising from the minutes. We previously have had this on our agendas. This is our last chance to bring forward any resolutions to ABICC. So it's brought forward for council consideration and discussion for resolutions for ABICC.
I have none.
Are those two resolutions that are in here going in?
No, those are from 2024, simply brought forward by staff as examples.
And how did it do?
We did get movement on the First Nations inclusion. The provincial support and the legislative changes, we got stock letters back from the ministries. If there's nothing, I can move on.
Go ahead.
So next up are the 2025 proposed council meetings. This was brought forward in late 2024. There have been some changes. So looking for council to adopt the new council meeting schedule unless there are any coming changes.
Move
I have
on.
one.
Go ahead, Councillor Lewis.
September 29th. It's a Monday and it's a holiday.
From what I could see, September 30th was the holiday for Indigenous Awareness Day.
Oh. Already.
I'd move to adopt the 2025 council meeting schedule as shown.
I
Second.
second.
Sorry, who was the second?
I was the first second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey,
Next up was a discussion at our last committee of the whole meeting. It was for council portfolio positions. Based on that discussion, I filled in the names where the appointments were made. We still haven't heard back on the Community Health Network, but given that that may no longer be a committee, I would accept a motion to adopt the 2025 mayor appointment council portfolios as presented.
I move it so.
Second.
Any discussion? Councillor Copeland.
hi, I see a vacancy here on the Parks and Trials. I thought we got plugged in there to that.
Oh, for the parks and trails, so we still have to bring forward a terms of reference and application forms, and so this is all a to be determined once council has adopted terms of reference and the application forms.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on. We have a correspondence coming from the BC Epilepsy, looking for a proclamation of March 26, 2025 being Purple Day. You could also see that there are some notes provided by staff. The recommendation would be to receive and file. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, moving on. There is an email from Black Press asking if we would like an ad in the Vancouver Island Visitor Guide for 2025. I had Councillor Copeland and Councillor Janice bring this forward as correspondence for consideration by council. An appropriate motion may be that we choose one of the ad spaces and include it in the 2025 budget. Councillor Copeland?
Yeah, I was looking through the paperwork here, and I talked to the rep that Joan from the Vancouver Island Tourist Bureau. I was wondering if we could look at the budget and increase the advertising to a more appropriate space. For example, the wall cards on the ferry, as opposed to our ad being buried in a magazine. So we could do both, but there'd be an increase to the budget by getting those cards. The cards are where people walk up along and check all the advertisements and everything, and they generally take one with them if they're interested. And the name would stand out a lot better than in a magazine.
Deputy Janice, do you have any history on our advertising in Zeballos beyond what I came into in 2022?
Thank you, Eric Nels. Oh. It was Deputy Janice, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair Nelson Smith. My knowledge around this is somewhat limited. However, I do know that there were brochures that were made quite some time ago that I believe were displayed in visitor centers only. But they were Zeballos specific, and we do have some here at the village office.
Councillor Copeland, is that the sort of item that you would be thinking to go on the BC ferries, or a new card made up?
I haven't seen the old cards, but if they're good enough, then sure, put them on the BC Ferry. But I think the ferry is more appropriate than the magazine is what I'm getting at, and possibly another magazine as well. I looked into quite a few of them. For example, Northern Vancouver Island, they won't accept us because we're in the Strathcona region. Whereas the funding is from the MTC tax or something, which we're not a part of, so we can't put it in there. So yeah, I've looked around and I think there's one pamphlet that we can look at, as well as the visitor center, if you still wanted to go that way. Just add the cards would be my request. And I've got some breakdown of costs for that too. I can share with them. Whoever's interested.
Thank you. As the putting on my CAO hat, any information that you have, you could bring forward, and then it's something that we could present in the upcoming operating budget.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So, anything further on this item?
Not from
My
me.
hands up. Hello.
Yep. Hello, Councillor Deck.
Yes, I'm in agreement with Councilman Copeland on this. I'd like to see a little bit more money in the budget because we need all the help we can get getting people here. Thanks.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, moving on to section 7.1, the fire department monthly operations report. For information, but open to any discussion. Seeing none, moving on. Oh, did I see Councillor Deck?
Nope, sorry.
It's okay. Moving on to 7.2, the Public Works monthly operation report. Again, for information, but open to comments or questions. Councillor Copeland?
Yeah, I have a question about the budget. The SCADA has a terminal life of, I don't know if it's 3 to 5 years or something, as well as updates that'll cost money. I'm just wondering how you budget for that, if it's 5 years and beyond, and has it been looked at?
Thank you. So we're currently looking at the viability of the system we have in as a whole, between Public Works Foreman Hudson Mahalik and myself. We're not sure that the system in place is one that's going to see us through for years. So this item will likely come back to council. In a perfect world, if it was a running, operational, functioning SCADA system, we would budget for it during our 5-year financial plan. And that includes putting money into our reserves and ensuring that that's financed year after year.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the Public Works monthly operations report? Seeing none, moving on to 7.3, the Chief Administrative Officer's monthly operations report. For information, but open to questions and comments. And seeing none, moving on to Another information report, the 2024 Council Resolution Progress. This is an item that we bring forward 2 to 3 times a year just to let council and the public know where council decisions are to date. Any questions or comments on this?
Nothing.
Moving on to the Lot 501 remediation reports. These were presented to staff in draft form, now being presented to council. Looking for any feedback or changes that may come from your discussion. If there are no required changes, I would look for a motion from council to accept the reports and have them put into final form.
I'd move that to accept the District Lot 501 remediation feasibility study and move it into final form.
A second.
Any discussion?
No, looks good.
Seeing none, all those in favor? Oh, Councilor Lewis?
Oh, I just, are we going to get sort of a single page of recommendations or something instead of 300 pages that is way beyond my brain power?
Yes, absolutely. Now that these will be put into final form, staff can put together recommendations for council to move forward. Likely that recommendation is going to be that budget be put aside for McElhaney to prepare a budget for the remediation work so that we can get grant funding, because my assumption is this will be likely in the millions of dollars.
And we'll, and the government, excuse me, because we don't actually own Lot 501. None of the government entities will be assisting.
Unfortunately, we have a license of occupation, which makes us responsible. So I would actually need legal advice to give council a recommendation on how to work with the Crown on that.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next up is 7.6, the ESS grant application put forward by Protective Services Manager Sean Koopman. The recommendation on this one that as part of the Zeballos ongoing work in relation to emergency management, that the ESS grant be authorized for submission to UBCM in collaboration with the Strathcona Regional District, and that the Strathcona Regional District be authorized to receive the management and grant funding on behalf of the Village of Zeballos. That's the recommendations.
So does this mean no work for village staff? It means that the SRD is going to handle everything?
That is correct.
Perfect. So you just read out the recommendations. Can we just go with what you said and agree? Can we cheat?
If you like, you could say move the recommendations as presented in the report.
Move the recommendation as presented in the report.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to another grant application by Protective Services Manager Koopman. This one is the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund for SRD and other municipalities and First Nations in order to enhance emergency management, disaster communications capacity in Zeballos. So the implications are contract, emergency program coordinator, disaster communication technicians, and a purchase of a Barrett high frequency radio. The recommendations is again a collaborative grant application with Strathcona Regional District being authorized to receive and manage the grant funding on behalf of the Village of Zeballos.
Would you like me to read the recommendation?
Or you can motion to make the recommendations as written in the report.
Motion to the recommendation as presented in the report.
All
Second.
right. Any further discussion?
I just wanted to ask about where it would be set up as and the antenna as if we were to have a tsunami emergency preparedness, it would be underwater.
I'm not sure the technical aspects of this radio. That is a question I can ask of Mr. Koopman and get back to council.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carried. And one more regional grant opportunity, and this is for Indigenous cultural safety. And again, this is Strathcona Regional District receiving and managing the grant funding on behalf of the Village of Zeballos.
Move that the Village of Zeballos pass a council resolution in support of the Strathcona Regional District's 2024 Indigenous Cultural Safety Humility Grant, and that the Strathcona Regional District be authorized to receive and manage the grant funding on behalf of the village.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Carried. Wow, we are zooming along here.
Yeah.
Next up is Zeballos zoning bylaw number 556, 2024, up for second reading, and looking for council feedback on changes after our public hearing.
Were there any changes from the hearing?
None that were brought forward to staff.
Then I move that council gives Zeballos zoning bylaw 556 2024 second reading.
Second that.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And carried. Okay. And finally, January 14th, 2025, Committee of the Whole recommendations. So staff recommends that the changes to the, if council agrees with everything that's written, that a resolution could be that the changes listed below be reflected in the next iteration of the budget. And that's for all the budget listed items, unless any of that is incorrect information or you would like it changed.
I would move that the council consider the recommendations made at the January 14th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting and provide resolutions to enable staff to act on the recommendations we made.
Second that.
So we will need these put into a resolution form. So the recommendation is only that you consider them. And we're actually looking for you to ratify them. So looking essentially for 5 different resolutions. So the first one, for example, would be that the changes to the budget be accepted for inclusion in the next iteration.
You lost me.
So moved.
Sorry,
So moved.
the recommend Councillor Janice, the recommendation at the bottom isn't a resolution in itself.
Right.
It's just looking for council direction.
I got you. So what are the 5 recommendations?
The first one would be that the changes listed below be reflected in the next iteration of the budget.
And what are the other 4?
That staff start constructing design with McElhaney Limited on replacement of water and sewer connections and mains along Parkway Place with the availability on expansion included as part of the design. And then there's another recommendation that was made under that same mobile home park design discussion.
Yeah, okay.
And then 2 under service delivery changes. So could I have a motion that the changes listed below be reflected in the next iteration of the budget?
So moved.
I'll second.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Wait,
And carried. The next motion I would ask for is that staff start construction design with McElhaney on replacement of water and sewer connections and mains along Parkway Place with the availability on expansion included as part of the design.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that one? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
The next recommendation was that staff research the feasibility of rerouting wastewater collection to the Keno Street lift station.
Moved as written.
Second.
Any discussion on that one?
Yes. What's
Councillor Deck.
the time frame on? What is the time frame on this?
We'll get working with McElhaney as soon as possible. Really, I would say by summer, we should have some sort of design in place.
Very good, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Service delivery changes. That staff advertise a summer contract position for parking and campground monitoring and fee collection to trial for the 2025 season.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that one? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And finally, that the staff provide public advertising of museum availability through appointment at the village office for trial over the 2025 season.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I think we are. Didn't put a recommendation here, but we're going to be looking to go in camera under section K in that is services. So if I could get a resolution to go in camera under section K.
Under section K,
K, correct.
motion to go in camera under section K.
Second.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Public question and comment period. I can't see anybody, so Councillor Copeland, I'm going to rely on you to point out anybody that would like to speak from the public.
You have one speaker here.
Okay, I gotta say, I agree with Mr. Copeland that the cards is a much nicer idea than putting advertising in a magazine that usually just gets thrown away very quickly. The cards and letter and folders that they have seem to be quite consistent with being there for quite some time. And also, just a note that the camping, parking, the boat launch, they gotta raise their prices. We're so far behind that if we got a proper look at what other communities are charging for all these services, I think our village would be well ahead financially with the way it's getting so busy here with all these people coming to this little town. We couldn't even get down the street without, having a problem getting through the traffic. That's it.
I'm still not seeing if there's anybody else there. Councillor Copeland, I will rely on your eyes.
No, there isn't anyone else.
I'm leaving. I'm bowing out. Good night, everybody.
night.
Good night.
Good night, Lorna.
Good night.
I'll lock up.
Nothing to rise and report, so the best part. Adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
second,